felt we should jointly bring them to our attention and take the people of our province in confidence in some of the processes that will unfold, so that they are properly briefed and they are quite aware of the decisions that they've taken as the Provincial Executive Committee of the ANC. The Provincial Executive Committee of the ANC held a special meeting on Friday. In that special meeting, we had 3 crucial agenda items that we discussed, and it's very important that we emphasize that point, that we had 3 crucial agenda items, because I think from the narrative it is as if we convened the meeting to discuss one matter. Of the 3 items, we discussed our preparations and readiness towards the national conference that will be held in our province from the 15th of December. The second item was to assess the state of local government in our province so that we can strengthen the role that we're playing as the ANC. And the third item was to receive a report from provincial government on matters that relate to the provincial government and issues that need our immediate attention. On the basis of those 3 issues, we formulated resolutions and took decisions that necessitated that we consult beyond the meeting itself. And now that we've concluded those consultations, and those were thorough consultations, consulting our alliance partners, also consulting with the national leadership of the ANC, and consulting with our Premier as well, as the person that is leading government in our province. So after all those consultations, we really believe we are ready now to share not only our deliberations, but the way forward on how we will deal with these matters and attend to these matters. I'll hand over to our Provincial Secretary, Comrade Lionel T. Kings, to take you through all these issues. And I hope after this, some girl is going to wish me a happy birthday. And allow us to leave early so that I can go and enjoy my birthday. But thank you so much, and thanks for your time and thanks for your attention. Comrade Pierce.
Sure. Greetings to the members of the media, our Premier, Comrade David Makura, leadership of the ANC in the province, led by Hendrik Banyaza, who is his birthday today, and would want to wish him a revolutionary birthday. Banyaza. He's a birthday man or birthday boy. Yeah, I think the chair would have spoke about the 3 issues that the Provincial Executive Committee set and dealt with on the 3rd of September. In the main, the roadmap to the national conference. The second one is the state of coalition in the municipalities. The third one, a report of the provincial government. In terms of the roadmap, in terms of the national conference roadmap, the PEC received reports on the membership status, but also the fact that the 3rd of September would have been the cut-off date so that we prepare for that national conference. The province would have emphasized the issues of unity in preparation for the national conference. It is important for us as we prepare for 2024 elections that we are able to be a united province leading to that national conference. And we will have a special general council with all our branches in the province that will sit before our PGM sit, starting from the 7th of September. On the state of coalitions, we are deeply concerned with the collapse of the DA-led municipalities, especially in Ekurhuleni, in Tshwane and Johannesburg. which continues to plunge the people of these cities in a deeper crisis. The dysfunctionality of DA-led municipalities has jeopardized completely service delivery. The PC received a report on what transpired in the city of Johannesburg and has uploaded the African National Congress, caucus, and the political parties it worked with to collapse the Speaker of Democratic Alliance with his coalition government. The ANC will heed a call to engage with other political parties. It's a process that is starting as we speak. We will continue to engage other political parties to formulate coalitions that will be effective and assist in improving the lives of our people. As we speak, we believe that DA and its coalition partners have plunged our people of Gauteng into a bigger crisis. On provincial government, in February, our former chair, who was a premier of Gauteng, Comrade David Makura, in the Cadres Assembly would have spoken about what he termed a transitional process. He has been a leader of Gauteng for the past 22 years, or even more, as a provincial secretary and as a chairperson of Gauteng. He has been in government for the past 8 years. On his own, spoke with the members of the ANC and told them that it is time he passed on the baton as the leader of Gauteng. Then subsequent to that, we had a provincial conference which elected the new leadership, which is led by Comrade Panyaza. Immediately after that, we had a discussion which was led, of course, initiated by Comrade David Makura, who is our premier. And part of what we spoke about was a transitional process, a smooth transitional process that must take place in Gauteng, which we immediately said to him, we'll come back, we'll go and engage with all our structures. We started with that process in the beginning of August. We engaged the PwC, we engaged the PEC, and we came back after the PEC that set on September the 2nd. We engaged Comrade David Makura, who said to us, embark on the internal processes of the ANC, so that once we are done with that process, we are able to hand over with this smooth transitional process. So there is nowhere where Comrade David Makura would have said, or rather ANC said, Comrade David Makura must resign as the premier of Gauteng. There is no PEC that said and spoke about the resignation of Comrade David Makura, who is our premier. He has served us with utmost respect, and he has done so much for the ANC in this province. But the maturity that he would have displayed, because I think everybody believes that where there's ANC, there must be chaos. Even some of us, even the media, believe that there can never be a smooth process in the ANC. There should be chaos. Once there is a smooth process that we're embarking on in building a strong organization, Comrade David, like we said, he was a secretary for the longest of time, understands how the ANC processes must happen. So as our leader, our former chair, initiating such a process to us, we really applauded him. And the PEC would have really, were blown away by the type of dynamism that this leader has shown, not only to the ANC in Gauteng, but I think it is an experience that we must all learn from. That not all the time when there must be a power handover, there must be a chaos. And I think that we want to appeal not only to the members of the media, but to society at large, that you must allow the ANC to undergo its own processes. And where we are, we want to thank our Premier, and this is not a handover process. We want to thank our Premier and our leader for this initiative and the level of maturity would have shown to us as this leadership. We will learn from him, and we want to also say to the people of Gauteng, once that process starts, we will make sure that we give you a leader that will be able to take us forward in confidence. Thank you, Comrade Chair.
Thanks, Nopal. I'll allow the Premier to also respond.
Thank you very much to the leadership of the ANC, led by our chairperson, Comrade Panyaza Lesufi, our deputy chairperson, Comrade Norman Morale Boko, our secretary, Comrade TK Mwisa, our deputy secretary, Comrade Tazli Motara, and our treasurer, Comrade Murakanu Musupi. So obviously this is the first time since the provincial conference I appear with you at a media briefing, so I'm quite excited by this. You were elected at the conference that I chaired, and one of the days it was up to early hours of the morning. From that point of view, I want to thank you for the process that's underway now in our province to rebuild, strengthen our organization. I know you have wasted no time in engaging with the structures. The leadership collective that I led handed over at the conference to the leadership collective that is the Provincial Executive Committee, led by the officials who are sitting here. So we look forward to working with you. As an activist of the ANC, I live in Gauteng. I look forward to working with you in every sense of it, even if I'm not in the leadership of the Provincial Executive Committee. And I saw one of the media articles that I did not win a space in the PEC. I guess some of the journalists who don't attend these things, they write about politics, but they don't understand politics. So you would know that I did not contest for any position at the provincial conference. And I want to start where the chair started and continue to emphasize what the secretary has said. That in February this year, at the Provincial Assembly of Cadres held at Nazareth, it was almost 2 days before the State of the Province address. I addressed on behalf of the PEC, the branches of the ANC in Gauteng, and it is in that address that I made it clear that after thinking through the work that myself and a whole host of activists have done in Gauteng, following another group of activists who have been rebuilding our movement since the unbanning in 1990. Between 1990 and 2000, there are several contingents of cadres and leaders of the ANC in Gauteng. And in 2000, from 2000 to this year, 2022, it has been an honor for me to be part of the group of activists who have worked throughout the province to rebuild the ANC. In that address in February, I made it clear that I'm not going to make myself available for the leadership of the ANC in the province. I'm still here. I'm still an activist. So that was the first breaking news to our structures. And I know that after that we were able to get everybody to understand, we prepared for a conference, we elected the leadership that's sitting here, as I said. Immediately after the conference, once the conference completed its business, you remember the conference set in 2 sessions. After that, I had a discussion with the chairperson of the province, Comrade Banyaza Lisufi. Subsequent to that, had a meeting with the secretary and the chair. So this was the second meeting. But we met immediately once the conference processes was completed, once the PEC was in place, we met. And I expressed my wish that I'm serving my last term, having handed the leadership of the organization, where the PEC, I'm serving my last term in government. I can't be premier again. It's not allowed in our republic. There's 3 years. We are now 3 years into the second term. So there's 2 years to the end of term. So I said to the leadership, represented by the chairperson, my first meeting was with the chairperson, and the second meeting was with the chair and the secretary. I expressed my wish that we need to discuss with the leadership that we have handed over to run the ANC matters of how we're going to manage government, because as you understand, I have sat in the PEC for all the years. We have related with different premiers from all the premiers, and I know definitely how government works and how the ANC and government must interface. So I shared with the leadership that we would need to put in place how we're going to manage governance issues. The leadership also raised the proposals on how we're going to do that. The second issue I said is that the elections are in 2024. One of my keen areas of interest is a smooth transition. This is an ANC-led government. I'm very keen, having been the last immediate leader of the ANC in our province and the immediate last chair of the ANC in our province before this leadership was elected. I'm also interested in ensuring that there's going to be a smooth transition in government, and smooth transition in the sense that this is an ANC-led government. We should have a discussion about how we are going to ensure that the ANC prepares for 2024 elections in a much stronger position, but we continue to run provincial government, stable, responsive government. The provincial government must be on the ground to deal with all the issues, but we also work very, very closely with the leadership of the ANC. I do want to say to you that there was a very, very specific wish I expressed to the chair and the secretary, that I wish that the next State of the Province address should be given by the leader the ANC has identified to lead government in Gauteng. I expressed that as a wish to the leadership. Said, it is my wish that in February next year, the State of the Province address is not done by me. It's done by the next leader the ANC has identified who must lead us in government. And I think it's a very simple thing for me. Having the experience I have about how the ANC works and how it should work, and understanding that I am at the tail end of the work one has done in government with the various collectives of MECs, and a lot of those are in the leadership of the PEC now, most of those MECs. Understanding the ANC the way I do, I also expressed a wish that we should ensure that the ANC manages these matters better prepared to go into the 2024 elections. And I said to the leadership, I think between now and that state of the province address. Let's have a detailed discussion. I am ready, and I want to say it today to you that I am ready to hand over the leadership of Gauteng to the next premier that the ANC is the governing party now. So the ANC would identify that I am ready, and I said to the leadership, I am ready. We just need to manage this process properly, and let's do it in a way that doesn't create problems in the organization. Let's do it in a way that doesn't create problems in government. It doesn't impact on government service delivery, and I'm readily available to hand over. And the leadership said to me, as the secretary was saying now, thank you very much, Chair. But they still call me Chair.
Yes.
They still call me Chair. I know I'm not Chair anymore. The secretary and the Chair said to me, thank you very much, Chair. We appreciate this discussion that you have started. And I did make it clear to them, I'm not resigning. I'm not about to submit a resignation. But I want to hand over properly, because that's an obligation as the immediate last provincial chair of the ANC. I would be willing to hand over when the ANC has gone through its own processes. The timing of that will be determined by the ANC itself, but it's very important that there are proper consultations through the ANC processes, and that's what the secretary and the chair were saying. And it's very important that there is no instability in our province. It's very important that this process is managed with utmost political maturity. But it's not about me. That's one thing I want to make it clear. I did say to the leadership, it's not about me. And the leadership went through a number of processes that they are still going through now, and I want to repeat that it is something that was initiated by me to have a discussion with the leadership of the ANC, and the leadership of the ANC came back to me after the PEC on Friday to say that we have now put through the discussions with the Provincial Executive Committee. You heard the Secretary saying it quite clearly. So there's no, I haven't threatened the leadership with a resignation. I haven't written a resignation to put it through to them. They haven't asked for me to resign. They haven't, as the Secretary was saying, they haven't taken a decision to recall me. All I did ask the leadership to do is that we need to ensure that we prepare. We must be concerned with governance. We must be concerned with the stability of and service delivery continuity. And there are major programs that the ANC is leading in Gauteng, major programs about economic reconstruction and recovery, major programs. We're rolling out the Township Economy implementation now, the Township Economic Development Act implementation. We're dealing with many issues around ethics and corruption. Those are ANC programs. I saw some of the the newspapers speculating, and as the spokesperson says that quoting malicious, faceless sources. We are on the same page on everything, including on lifestyle audits. That's an ANC conference resolution first and foremost. The lifestyle audits are not just decisions of government. They are exactly in the NASREC conference, the 54th National Conference. We are on the same page. All the MECs in Gauteng have said that we need to do this in a way that sets the standard, the bar higher. We are addressing issues of crime. We are deeply concerned. These ongoing briefings we had, we're very concerned about the level of crime and the violence, including the use of illegal firearms. And the ANC itself organized a lot of marches, and I know you were criticized but you are in charge of government and you are marching simultaneously as we were ensuring that Operation Okaimulao actually succeeds. There's other interventions, health, related matters. We all share a deep concern on what needs to be done to fix our healthcare system, and not just keep dealing with tinkering on the surface. Deep structural reform of our healthcare system, something the ANC conference discussed, what we need to do with infrastructure issues. They are in the conference resolution. Fix the infrastructure in Gauteng, address the economy, address the issue of gender-based violence, address continue to improve our performance in education, continue to address the fundamental issues facing the people of Gauteng on service delivery, and the impact of migration as well. Migration from across the country. Gauteng is dealing with migration every day across the country, but also in the SADC region. The numbers are very, very clear. So those are they are in the conference resolutions of the provincial conference. These issues are coming from there and the conference resolutions. So as we were discussing with the leadership of the PEC, and this leadership, I must commend the leadership. When you come out of a conference, you often have the pull and pushes. You go into a conference and you come out of conference, there's pull and pushes. Those things, as a former secretary and former chair of the ANC, I understand the politics of this province very well. They will always be there. But this leadership collective is managing those issues. Gone to the PEC, the PECs, they gave me feedback. The PEC welcomed the fact that as the immediate former leader, I'm working with the province, but also I can't just take a view that 2024 is the end of term. I don't work like that. I've not worked like that before. It's not how I work with. I always want to make sure that we work collectively, prepare for the next phase, prepare properly, take everybody on board, take the ANC structures, the alliance. And I know this leadership has also has some discussion with national leadership, and they are going to follow. All those is what is called ANC processes. So I want to say to you, I'm not yet to render my resignation today, but I'm definitely ready to hand over to the next leadership of the ANC. There's a difference between recall and resignation and a handover, and this handover must be smooth, and the transition must be smooth. And it's initiated, this process was initiated at my own behest immediately after the provincial conference. This leadership hasn't come to me to demand a change, a reshuffle. I saw some of the media newspapers, some of the media houses were reporting that I was planning a reshuffle, and then the PEC disagreed with the names. How can you just go, things that never took place? The PEC disagreed with the names, so that's what they are angry about. I was planning a reshuffle, and then there's been no discussion with the PEC about any reshuffle. It's amazing. But one thing there's been a discussion on is I'm 8 years into this job that I had the honor to do, to serve the people of Gauteng. I'm 8 years into it. I'll continue to do this work. As I say, that's why I say I'm not handing over a resignation. I'll continue to do this work, but I'm definitely interested in ensuring that the provincial government that's led by the ANC is going to go into the next phase as smoothly as possible. So the day the ANC comes back and says to me, we think we've completed our process, I'll be able to hand over to the next premier. Of course, you know, it's those processes the ANC goes through, will go its own processes. The timing of that is entirely dependent on the party itself. And we are continuing to work. Part of what you do know, I need to say, is today I'm undertaking a trip to Germany. As part of the work of the provincial government, we have done extensive work on renewable energy, green hydrogen, issues of innovation. We have the innovation corridor on green hydrogen in the Vaal, electric vehicles in automotive hub in Tshwane. Tshwane is our automotive hub. We're looking at electric vehicles. We're looking at renewable energy. We're looking at green hydrogen. Those are some of the key issues we're discussing with Bavaria State. We have a partnership. Actually, I'm going to sign it this end of this week. I'll sign an agreement, a renewal of a sisterhood agreement with Bavaria State in Germany. Bavaria State is where BMW comes from. So we're looking at the next generation of vehicles. So we are working. We are hard at work. After that, we will go to the Netherlands. There we are looking at green infrastructure issues because this is climate change is a big issue for us. We are looking at innovation, green infrastructure. We're looking again at the Erythropolis, Ekurhuleni Erythropolis. We're looking at Schiphol Erythropolis in the Netherlands. Those are critical issues. Agro-processing. And the cannabis industrialization. Cannabis is a key thing. I know some of you would love us to make great progress with cannabis. So we will be in the Netherlands. After Germany, we go to the Netherlands. We're looking at the work we are doing in our province on cannabis industrialization and agro-processing and producing cannabis for medicinal use and all the other issues. So that in the next 2 weeks, that's what I am going to be doing. I'm leading a delegation of the provincial government. So last week, I took a decision that being out, I will appoint MEC Lesufi as the acting premier. I also know that itself was a subject of speculation. As you know, Makura is gone. It's gone. So Lesufi is in. This week he started. So now I have appointed MEC Lesufi. You know he is an experienced MEC in our provincial government. He's the leader of government business. A number of our MECs have acted when one has not been around. So he'll be acting for the next 2 weeks as we are busy on these international engagements. They are a very important part of the ANC's vision of what Gauteng must become. You remember we have what we call the 5 corridors. We've got each corridor specializing in certain sectors. I've just talked about the Vaal and Tshwane. Ekurhuleni is the manufacturing hub of our province, and the West Rand is an agro-processing hub of our province. So those international visits are also about strengthening our relationship, and that's why I'm confident that the handover process that the ANC is discussing at my request, when that process is finalized, I'll be able to hand over and we're confident that in the legislature we will be able to elect at whichever point we want to do that, to elect an ANC premier in Gauteng. I'm very confident. When will that happen? It's entirely in the hands of the ANC, but I am ready. And as I said, I've not been asked by the ANC to resign. There's no recall. It's a process that it's absolutely necessary. When you are a leader and you have led, and I said that at the provincial conference, where you have led, so you have had so much support, you also want to make sure that the next leadership collective receives the kind of support from the people of Gauteng, from the various sectors of Gauteng. And I think I would be very available, Chair and Secretary, once we have finalized that process, to also go everywhere to engage the different sectors that one has a good relationship with, to engage with them, to make sure that they understand that I've not been pushed. If there have been people who have been whispering anywhere that they lack such confidence that they have not pushed me, or no, have they gone to the PEC, this leadership, to say, let's push it? That hasn't happened. And I think we will continue to ensure the ANC succeeds in this province. It is the intention of the ANC, I must say this, I said it at the conference, to still govern Gauteng after the 2024 elections. It is the intention of the ANC. And as an ANC activist, doesn't matter what role, what position I have. And having been in this the leadership of this province and in government, we want to make sure the ANC does all the things that will win confidence of the people of Gauteng, to strengthen public confidence, deal with weaknesses of service delivery, failures, deal with problems of corruption head on without dodging any issues, and also deal with the economy, deal with infrastructure issues, and improve service delivery in Gauteng. So thank you very much for the opportunity to have this media briefing with you. I must also say the leadership has, I did say today I am traveling, so it would be a great pleasure if we can do the media briefing before I leave, because I also said to them, I want to speak for myself. And thank you very much, I've spoken for myself. They shouldn't be sitting here alone saying, yeah, no, the Premier this and it's not, we didn't ask the Premier to resign, he came to talk to us. I must speak for myself. I believe very much in speaking for myself. This leadership, I still wish this leadership success in leading the ANC in Gauteng. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Premier. I just want to thank you so much, Premier. I just want to debunk one or two I just want to debunk one or two things that have been delivered in the public space. That this leadership that has been elected by branches of the ANC can't wait. They are quick, they want to go to government and then take over and run government. That we are contradicting ourselves when we made a public statement that we want the Premier to conclude his term. So we want to debunk that because the Premier just brilliantly so explained that it is his wishes to leave government and have a smooth transition. And we said to him, wait until we have dealt with two crucial matters. For the first one being, if the Premier says he wants to leave, it will be in our interest to know where the Premier will go. The Premier has served us brilliantly, as the Provincial Secretary has indicated. I knew him when we were student leaders together many years ago. So, and I knew him when we finished our studies, come to lead the province, was leading an interim structure called JILK. I was still a young fellow in Kyalami by that time. We then elected him the provincial secretary, later on elected him the deputy chair, and then he was our provincial chair. So if he says he wants to leave, we can't rush him if we don't have an alternative. So we said to him, hold on. So we didn't rush, because if he said he wanted to leave, we just said, go now. We said, no, hold on. Let's find a way of really concluding matters for you, both organizationally and government-wise. When I say organizationally, people will understand what it means when we are dealing with that matter. So we want to debunk that myth. I think it's very important, because we are rebuilding the ANC. So we don't want people to think this ANC can't wait, selfish, can't acknowledge the good work done by its leadership. They just want to take over and take over immediately. We want to debunk that myth. It's not correct. This leadership is mature. This leadership understands its mandate. This leadership is not on any rush, but this leadership wants to build a strong, dynamic ANC that can represent the aspirations of our people. Actually, you know from the statement that has been uttered by our provincial secretary that our oppositions or opponents in this province are in tatters. Whatever that they are touching, they are destroying. We are on the verge of not having electricity in Tswane, because that municipality can't even pay electricity. The leadership of Johannesburg is without a speaker, it's without a municipal manager. I mean, for 3 years, they can't even appoint a municipal manager. You go to Ekurhuleni, the public protector said a bodybuilder can't be a senior manager in Tshwane. Now the bodybuilder is moved from Tshwane to Ekurhuleni. They are saying cadre deployment is wrong. They are taking the ANC to court on cadre deployment. They take their cadre and the legislature to lead the office of the speaker in. So our opponents are in tatters of the mayor. Our opponents are in tatters. Their coalition partners, people that formed government with them, are approaching us to say it's bad that side. They really believe that the ANC was much better. So we are not in a hurry to do any other thing but to consolidate what our branches have mandated us to do so that we can deal with the task at hand. So we are indeed thrilled, Premier, that you have openly on record indicated that we are not elbowing you, that we are not pushing you, but we are accepting your desire as a good leader to feel that this leadership must be given space and time to prepare for the battles that lies ahead. So for that we are grateful and we want to thank you. And we accept your wisdom, we accept your counsel, we accept your leadership on all these particular matters. As the Premier has indicated, as soon as the ANC is ready with its own processes, because we have our own processes, the provincial secretary is here. We've already started the consultation and we've already started to sensitize our national leadership. As soon as we conclude that process, we will take you in confidence and attend to the issues that we want to. So the second thing that we want to kill and debunk is that we are not saying the Premier must live on the basis that he's conducting himself the lifestyle audits or was not elected or was not in the leadership and all other things. So we really feel that it's an insult to the leadership of the ANC when we feel that we want clean, accountable government, that we feel a corruption-free government, want a government that is sensitive to the needs of our people, a government that will be at the center of economic development. We are running a province that economically should propel our country to higher heights. So where we stand and where we are of the collective view, and that's the reason why we are giving the Premier the go-ahead to continue with this international trade. We need those investments, we need those ideas, and we need those partners or partnership that he's going to formulate on our behalf. So on those two aspects, we are very, very clear. Our Premier is still with us. As soon as we conclude our internal processes that have already started, as soon as we conclude our internal processes, we will finalize this matter and deal with it. But our desire is one, good people. Our desire is to build a strong, cohesive, united, factionless African National Congress in our province. Our desire is to ensure that this movement of the people, the movement that protected and continue to protect the weak and the vulnerable, must continue to serve our people, must continue to give them support, must continue to give them guidance. We have no other enemy. Our enemy is unemployment. Our enemy is poverty. Our enemy is homelessness. Any other perceived enemy, being a Premier or any other thing, is a wrong thing. We are determined, strongly so. We think we are capable, strongly so, to confront our challenges in a manner that will make ordinary citizens of this province proud of all of us and the work of the ANC. We want to leave it here. It's my birthday. You'll agree that I must go and celebrate it. So, in the absence of questions, because I can see you don't have questions, in the absence of questions, we can politely close this discussion. Oh, they are.
Let us maybe take a round of questions. I'm not going to start with Samgelu. It might take everything. I'm going to start with the lady you just mentioned, the publication you work for, and then I'm going to move from right to left. And then,
Uzinhle from News 24. These questions are based for anyone but mostly people, provincial leadership. Were there any names discussed? I know Mr. Yusufi is probably one of the people that people desire for him to replace Mr. Makura, but any other names were discussed? I saw randomly someone saying Libohang Maide was probably proposed as one of the candidates to take over. Is this true? Also, Mr. Yusufi, you mentioned briefly that the national leadership was consulted. I just want to know, what did the national leadership say? And is it true that Mr. Ramaphosa had indicated to you guys that it's a bad idea to make such a move to replace leadership? And does the fact that no suitable person has been found prove that the PC is quite divided on this matter? The PC elected at this conference isn't a united one, it's quite a divided one. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you spend 4 seconds.
All right. eNCA, no, sir, I work for Newsroom. Sorry, my name is Lukani Talat. I am the politics editor for Newsroom Africa. I just want to know if we could talk about the internal processes within, obviously, the ANC. How long do we expect that process to continue? Of consultation and finalizing that, because then I think it will give a bit of a time limit of a time to say, okay, maybe at the beginning of November, or maybe in the middle of October, maybe at the end of this month, we expect to have concluded these internal processes, and then once those are done, then the handover process will then officially commence. And then also, again, when, for instance, do we anticipate that the next premier will be in office? Because Mr. Makura has indicated that his wish would be that the next state of the province is then done by the new chairperson, or by the new premier. Obviously, we can't have a new premier that starts in January and then delivers a state of the province in February, because ultimately, I mean, what are you going to deliver, like, if you come in and you've only got a month in office, you know? So I'm just trying to understand what the time frames are going forward.
No, thank you very much, Newsroom Africa.
Sure. My name is Mawande from the Sunday Times. First of all, I would like to start by saying resignation, recall, handover, semantics, same thing as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, I was just passing by. At a higher level of the ANC being an inter-organization, just at national level, the picture, chair, and the leadership there, is it fair or logical for people to conclude that there is a culture of it's our turn to eat that is emerging? In the sense that it is now becoming apparent, as I say, when I say at a national level, I would prefer to KZN and other provinces, for example, that if you are not in the leadership of the province, there's this push, even though the Premier says in this regard he initiated it, but he might have also initiated it on that basis that there's this prevailing culture within the organization. He knew that he was coming in. Are you not worried as leadership, particularly here in Gauteng, where there's so much pressure for you guys to retain power in 2024? And also about that, was it logical that the leadership led by Chair Yusufi focuses on the ANC strategy and campaign going to 2024 and let the Premier himself might have thought that maybe it must continue until the end of term, so that the leadership of the province at a party level focuses on a formidable strategy going to 2024. Secondly, Chair Yusufi, you say part of the reasons that you said he must not be demanded, you are worried about where he must go next. There's talks. Well, it's good that we're here, so we can put this link to leadership. They can debunk if they're not true. That there is a push within the province that he must be supported or lobby for to rise to the position of SG in the House in December. Is that true? And to your Premier directly also, if there is such a plan to campaign for you to become SG, are you available for that? I know you've said before that it branches, but given the current circumstances, are you available and you believe that you have enough support of the PEC and the structure of the province to run that? Thank you.
Okay, some good.
I know. Thank you, Mr. Makube. Mr. Makura, Premier, a short and sweet question to you. Are you going to be leaving office in the coming 2 weeks post your trip to Germany? ANC processes determine that it is the PEC that deliberates on 3 names, sends them to the ANC top 6, they deliberate. President of the ANC says he's waiting for a report from the Secretary and from the Chair with other national officials of the ANC. What is your time frame for you to hand over government? Mr. Lusufi, happy birthday, sir.
Thanks. Thanks.
The premiership, it's a fact. It's largely a contestation between yourself and Mr. Lebogang Maile. As the leader of the ANC in the province, you've not discussed any names, but as Panyaza Lusufi, knowing the political dynamics in your own organization, would you offer and volunteer for yourself not to be sent to the NEC and for women to be sent there? Thank you.
What campaign then?
Sure. How long we need this?
Thank you so much. It's Govind from eNCA. Just like to know what is the PEC's wish for David Makura's future, when you see him as the Premier. Could you just clarify exactly which process is outstanding in the consultation of your alliance partners, the consultation of the national officials? What is it that you haven't done just yet? And then Premier Makura and also Chairperson Lusufi, now that you have announced this intention to conduct the handover process, are you not concerned that the remaining months of your administration with you in charge will be impacted by indecision or disruption due to the anticipation of a new cabinet being constituted under a new Premier, and thus trigger a level of dysfunction as people vie to get new positions under the new Premier and the new cabinet? And then finally, Premier, you know, you've set out a number of things which are still important priorities for your cabinet and your administration, and you're doing so today, and today essentially marks the tail end of your administration. Are these the same priorities that will be taken up by the next Premier of Gauteng? Are you going to be under pressure to try and do this work before you finish now? I'm asking that question as Gauteng residents. Are they looking at a Premier under pressure to deliver before he leaves? Or are they looking at a Premier who's happy with what he's done and is ready to go, even if that call had to come in sooner? Thank you so much.
No, thank you very much. I think that will be all the questions, and I'll ask the officials, including the Premier, to respond to the questions.
Thanks. Zintle, unfortunately, all your questions are hopelessly wrong. I'm not sure. No. But you gave you a chance. Now give us our chance. I don't think it will be proper to take gossip and want to plant it here. So you said you must clarify. Allow us to clarify. So on the issue of the president saying what you said, it's a bad idea. I mean, that's why we said it's the Premier that requested to leave. It's not us. So if somebody says, I'm ready to hand over, what bad idea is that? And we said it here that we are on a crusade of consultation. Now that we know, we'll consult all the structures and we'll have a proper idea of where we stand. So, including national office. So any insinuation that we are defying national office, that I'm saying it's hopelessly wrong. And the gossip that we don't have a suitable person, it's a street gossip that I don't want even to glorify it, because we have not started a process. How when we're indicating when we're about to start the process, we jump the gun and say we don't have a suitable candidate. But I understand it's Sunday, people might be rushing for other things, but all these questions are just hopeless. And I don't think that it will be proper to respond to them. We don't have 3 names, we have never had 3 names. We're starting this process and we'll handle it in that particular fashion. Look, the internal process will resume immediately. We will go back to the PC of the ANC. The provincial secretary is working on those logistics. And as soon as we have concluded that process, we'll be in a position to give you the exact timelines. Remember, it's a process that involves national office as well. And you are quite aware that national office is about to embark on national conference. So we will attend to that and take that into consideration. But you're spot on. The preparations to deliver the state of the province can't start in January. So there might be time that we need to incorporate. And I mean, the Premier is a seasoned person, so we all understand this, and we will find a way of attending to it and concluding it within the necessary timelines.
Thank you, sir.
Moande, we differ with you strongly, so that it's not semantics. I mean, a recall is when we take a decision and say we don't have confidence in you, come back. A resignation is when somebody say, I don't want to do anything with you anymore. Comrade David is not resigning from politics. Comrade David is not resigning from government. He has a desire, and that desire has been acceded to. So the level of semantics, we differ fundamentally. Even what you term a culture of it's our time to eat. That is why we said we want to debunk this myth that we can't wait. And we've demonstrated that we've waited. The Premier said this, maybe Premier, don't fight me, that I'm releasing our secret. Premier demonstrated or had this desire prior our provincial conference, to quite frank, prior our provincial conference, and said, hold on. So there's nothing that we can't wait. This is the culture of the ANC. When you come off a conference, the leader is not elected, elbow that leader, get new people, it's their time to eat. In the ANC, there's no time to eat, it's time to work and represent the aspirations of our people. If there are 1 or 2 people that have done wrong things, please don't paint us with one brush. We can't collectively say, all of you journalists, you are doing this thing. You don't take it, you will not like it. We must treat you professionally according to your own standing, character, and other things. So to come and say they've done it there, it's therefore Gauteng are doing it now, and other things, is very wrong. It's very wrong. And we want to really differ on that aspect. It's not our time to eat, it's our time to work. It's our time to represent the aspirations of our people. There is only one political party in this province that got the highest votes in all municipalities. And that organization is called the African National Congress. We might not have the power to establish a municipality, but it's the first choice of our people in this province. And being the first choice of our people in this province, we must respect their wishes and aspirations. And we want to tell you as well, we have gone to each and every region after conference to strengthen, test structures of the ANC. And we are quite convinced we've got strong structures. We will surprise those that are passing judgment on the basis of headlines. We have an ANC that is capable to ensure that it comes back beyond 50% in our province. We have an ANC that we can build that can indeed do what is expected out of it to represent the aspirations of our people. So we are not on that culture to eat and therefore go, we want to come in. We really believe it's an insult to us as leaders, actually. But we are seen as these vultures that wants to not represent our people, but represent themselves. We reject that. Why are we not focusing on our ANC strategies? We are doing that. As I said, immediately after the elections, we embarked on a process to visit each and every region, meet with each and every branch. If you follow my timelines, you can see the regions that we have visited and the regions that we have indicated. Yesterday we met Kuruleni and Sidibeng. We went to Tswane. So we are indeed, and leave it with us, it's our internal processes. We need a strong ANC, good people. The alternatives are bad. The alternative to the ANC is not a future that we can leave to our children and to people of this country. They can't even run their own coalition governments. How do they run a province? How do they run a country? When they can't even run a municipality. So we have to avoid that catastrophe. We have to ensure that the ANC is agile, renewed, it understands its mandate, and it gets rid of the wrong things that our people have said we must get rid of. Being inward focused, fighting for position, being perceived that we are a corrupt movement, that we are having all things wrong purely because everything is collapsing. We really believe we can change that narrative and are capable to do so. Hence, we'll be focusing on those things. We said, you asked us whether we're pushing Comrade Makhura as an SG. When the Provincial Secretary opened this briefing, he said we're going to have a cadres assembly in a week's time, where we're going to consolidate our approach as a province. I don't think it's Comrade David alone. There are many other comrades that are coming from our province. So at this present moment, we've not taken any decision. We are consulting our branches. We're meeting them in a week's time, and then they will go and nominate. After they've nominated, we'll reconvene them again, and then we'll have taken a posture on how we want to deal with this thing. So it will be unfair even to ask Comrade David whether he's standing as an SG or not. We will pronounce as a province. But what we want to warn, comrades, and we are very firm on this one, is that we know there is this culture of lectures, of leaders coming from other provinces and other things that wants to go to our branches, deliver a lecture. Somebody who was not even there when we wanted to fight for elections during local government elections. They've not raised their finger, they've not supported us, they were not here. Now that they want to be elected, they're invading our provinces. This province is not going to be a playing field. And we are not going to allow people to use the national conference to reignite our factional differences here. We are strong, we are not factionalized now, we are working together at all levels. You'll see when we make proper pronouncement on these issues. So we don't want somebody to then come and reopen those factional lines in our province. So we are going to provide leadership at this province in terms of the national narrative. And we are going to go as a province, not as a federal regions or branches, as a province. And we'll move together in terms of that aspect. So I'm going to the Premier, as you have asked me a personal question that is going to leave in 2 weeks. Maybe, I don't know, maybe some traits of Bushiri are now with you that you can prophetize how these things. We don't know. We don't know. And your question whether it's me or Lebu. We've passed the stage of Panyaza and Lebu. And I'm pleading with you, media houses. We have passed that place. We've passed the stage of Adiwele, Panya, or whatever. We only have one thing in this province, that's the African National Congress. No one has won, no one has lost. The ANC has won. And therefore, when we meet to decide on the leadership, it will be the best that the leadership collective feel must lead this province. I think the provincial secretary has said that, and we'll deal with that aspect. So we are not going to respond as individual. The organization will respond on this matter, and when the organization responds on this matter, we'll make that decision public to you. On outstanding consultation, the period that will take, maybe the provincial secretary will respond to it because he's the one that is managing that aspect. I really, if you think that a new cabinet, a new premier will delay things, there's no new cabinet, new premier, there's only one ANC. And it's the ANC that's going to take all those decisions. And we're not bringing people that are outside the ANC. If we're bringing Zile from the DA to win cabinet, then there will be a problem because you don't understand how they end. But we are bringing capable cadres of the ANC to be part of our leadership structure. So the ANC will manage this, and the ANC will take this forward and attend to all the issues that we really feel we need to attend to. We are here to represent the aspirations of our people, not to represent ourselves. And we are here to send a very strong message. The ANC that our people need is the ANC we are building in Gauteng. An ANC that is caring, an ANC that is loving, an ANC that is capable to deliver services as speedily and cleanly as possible. An ANC that will respect itself and respect the wishes of our people. We want to leave it there. Comrade Pierce?
No, thank you, Comrade Chair. I think you covered a lot, to be honest. But just, few issues for me. The African National Congress, that is not chaotic. Most of the time, people don't really like it, including its own leaders. They get shocked. Why so? It can't be done like that. They must fight. It can't be, comrade. The PEC and the Premier have agreed on a process. Which other structure must agree with the Premier on the process? Comrades, it can't be. It's the Provincial Executive Committee that also has executive powers. It has agreed with its own Premier on a process, a handover process. The only process we must take to the leadership. I don't know if when other premiers are resigning, probably NEC that talks about that. When there is a process of a smooth transition on the basis of material conditions, Gauteng is not like any other province. Or rather, it's a province that is complex. Let me put it in that way. You can't be clumsy or reckless when you are dealing with a province like Gauteng. You must take processes, you must take people into confidence. You must make sure that even when you are looking at the leader that must take over, you are applying yourself and your mind, and you forget about factions. There are no factions there. We've agreed with the Premier. We're embarking on this process. He's the one that said to us, comrades, let's have a smooth transition. And we're working on that process. And I don't think the system must be shocked on the ANC that is not chaotic. Let's welcome it. In fact, let's learn from it. That for even nationally people have been recalled. There's no Premier here who's being recalled. It's a process that is a smooth process that in fact he initiated it. So comrades want to stop him. No, they must fight you so that you resign. No, we're together. We're working together. And it must be accepted by everybody. And there's no factional issues. I think you would have spoken to it, Comrade Chairperson. And this is not a confusing media briefing. Let's accept what we're giving you. We're working together so that the ANC is strong. And we must respect even how this process, the process, of course, it has started, Comrade Panyaza would have said. We will speak about the 3 names. We will give a report to the NEC in the next week or so. We will come back and close this process because those comrades must be interviewed. It's a process on its own. It's not a one-day thing. After 2 days, there's a premier. It's not. It doesn't work like that. It's a process on its own that must be accepted. We're taking our people into confidence, and we want to make sure that by the time we get to that level. In fact, the Premier would have said to us, when that happens, he would want to be part of the legislator and vote for the for that premier. I mean, he would have said that. That shows you the level of maturity we're displaying as the province. That shows you how we respect and how we want to take, how we take unity serious in this province. So we want to say to those who have disappointed, thinking that we're coming here to cause chaos to the ANC, and those who are looking at us as what do those ones think, we're leaders of the ANC elected. And we respect people of Gauteng. We respect our leaders. And in fact, we have never thrown our leaders into dustbin. We've come from Comrade Khalima, Comrade Mashatile, Comrade Nomvul, and many of them. I'm talking about the National Conference. We're not going to throw our leaders away. We will engage on what must happen. Comrade Makura has led us. All these comrades who are speaking about have led us. We don't have a history of undermining those who have led us. So our discussions are about the interest of our province come 2024. Whoever would want to, I'm sure the PC will deliberate on those matters, but our interest is 2024. And whatever that happens at the National Conference, there's a direct impact to our province. So that's why we want comrades to allow our provincial executive committee, even our branches, to discuss on their own without external forces wanting to cause confusion in our branches. And we are very firm on that. Comrade Chair would have spoken very firmly on that. So I think, Comrade Chair, we will, when in the near future, we will communicate, and I'm sure the Premier will also speak to you. And the NEC, those processes as they embark, you know about them in the near future. As we said, the process has started. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
We're not going to, I think we've exhausted all questions. Okay, no, let's be all done. There's no problem. There's a phone here. I think this one.
Yes.
Oh, it must go that side. And this one.
We must not delay the commencement of the birthday.
It's a soccer match. That's the only thing. That
Okay, I also have to go and prepare for my trip. I will also be very brief. I think the fundamental issue is that I understand why there is a doubt about what we are saying, but the only way to deal with doubt is to be straightforward and factual. So there's doubt about, did the PEC take a decision to recall? After that was addressed, firstly the headline was recalled, so it was addressed today. So things are shifting to the next set of issues. So it's quite clear that, okay, there's no decision of the PEC to recall the Premier, and there's no decision of the Premier to resign. Because that's, resigning is simple. The best example that the Secretary is giving is that I will be there. Once the ANC complete its processes, I will be there in the legislature to make sure that we vote, all of us, including myself, vote for the new Premier. So when that process, that's why it can't be semantic. Resigning is resigning. It has happened in this province. And there's no way I'm going to put the ANC in crisis and decide tomorrow I'm out, see to finish. We learn from our history. The reason the ANC, or the PEC also understand the consequences of recall has happened in our movement of President Thabo Mbeki. We have reflected extensively. We learn from our history. And that's why there are things the ANC is not going to repeat. Whether you believe it or not, the ANC is not going to commit the same mistakes I can commit the mistake of my predecessor, one of my predecessors who decided to leave. And then the ANC just needed to see how it deals with that. No, I must be interested in the process that is smooth. No, you were probably still too young. You may not recall. This ANC was plunged in a big crisis when that happened. You were probably too young. So I'm not going to repeat. So it's not semantic, Mawand. Just basic English and a bit of political science. Recall is a decision taken by a structure, an executive in the ANC that says, this leader, for this reason or that reason, leader, we want somebody else in there. The reasons may vary, but in this particular case, it's very straightforward. And once there were many attempts to try and convince me by ANC members, no, you should stand as the chair to avoid a situation where if you are not the chair, you may not be the premier. I say that is very illogical. The ANC does not work like that. It's not being in a position of chair that determines that. And I can't contest when the full assessment is that you have done what you needed to do as the leader in the province. I mustn't be contesting for leadership of the province or even national because you want to be in government. That is a very wrong conception. We can feed into that conception. And I made it clear that no, I'm not going to contest for the chair, and it doesn't even suggest that I want to stand for a position in the national organization. And I know some of you again say, but yeah, with the ANC people, you mustn't believe them. I think we can't force you to believe us. It was very simple why I didn't stand for the chair. Again, that's we are repeating today. 22 years in the province of being in leadership at different levels was good enough to have received the support of ANC members to be there. What more can you ask for? I've been premier in this province for 8 years. That's 8 years of being. In another dispensation is the full term of President Obama. 8 years is a term in other dispensations. Things cannot depend on me, but I must also plan about my understanding of politics. My understanding of politics is that we must always place the interest of the people and the interest. And sometimes in South Africa, this thing is like, oh, you place the interest of the ANC first and the people of South Africa second. No, we place the interest of the people and the interest of the party, because this is a party that was founded to pursue the interest of the people. Whether we make mistakes along the way, we don't do that. It doesn't change that we stand for that. So I want to emphasize that. So Mawanda says that, no, you may as well have thought that you must initiate this because you would be recalled, because in any case, no. I think you have been around for a while, Mawanda. You are not one of the journalists who have just come around. You've been around for a while. And don't get me to question the soundness of your political. He knows, I've told him. He's been around for a while. He understands that there's no basis for him to ask or conclude as he does, except that is speculation. So he's involved in Siaslebo. So just be bold and say they say. Don't say it's me, because then I believe in you again. Say there are people whispering there, they say you were going to be recalled in any case. But there's no one who came to any structure, not to this leadership, and say, let's recall that fellow. I'm saying by a say, but they lack confidence because they haven't gone. And because when you recall, you have to put the reasons. Yeah, you have to put the reasons that you may as well be wrong in that argument, but you must put it. So this PEC has not come to that. And I have not come to a decision to resign. I am going to hand over. It's not, this smooth transition and a handover, seamless handover process. It's not a semantic. It has happened previously, that things just happened. Decisions were made. They plunged both the party and government into a crisis. Both myself as the Premier and the leadership of the ANC are concerned about that. So, Governor, there would be a deep concern that whatever we do must not plunge, disrupt governance, because this is an ANC-led government, must not create chaos. The Secretary says, you know, some of you guys enjoy when the ANC is chaos. So what we're doing here is not comparable with anything that happened anywhere else. That when he says Gauteng is complete, that's what he means. So the Premier I didn't come and say to them, I'm resigning tomorrow. I said, we must discuss the transition. It must be smooth, seamless, and we must discuss, and I am willing to ensure, because why should I wait until 2024? Maybe you don't believe, you say, but politicians would want to stay in power. Sorry for you. If there are politicians like the one, so I decide I'm not standing for the provincial conference, not because I want to stand for the national conference. You say, but politicians must be interested in this position. Why would he? He must be having a hidden agenda somehow. And I'm saying to you, it is genuine, and this leadership knows that I am not saying if the ANC comes to conclusions that the national conference is there and then they have come to them. I'm not saying that I will not consider anything, but I'm not betting my horses. I'm not saying, okay, in case we must first do this, maybe one must first be elected. No, that's not principled leadership. I am convinced that in this province we have done, firstly in the organization, the best that needed to be done. And there are others who must take the process forward. Even in government, I'm convinced that there are others who will take this process forward. The ANC needs to go through its own processes. If you don't believe it, hard luck. And may God give you a long life to see that these things, and some of you have been around for a while. We have had many press conferences when I was the secretary and even deputy. Yes, some of the things you didn't believe happened the way we said. In Gauteng, there's also a deliberate intention to do things differently. Not just follow everybody, so cabinets are just being changed. No, but also this leadership has said, Premier, we would like to do a mid-term review of the cabinet performance. That's what the PEC is going to do. You have a comprehensive assessment. So far, that's part of the handover process. It must be orderly. It's different from a recall. How has been the performance? Where are the areas of strength? Where are the areas of weaknesses? So how do we go to the next level to improve performance? This is what a leadership should be doing. And a mature leadership takes those things into account. This is different from, I just say to them, see to finish, this is your baby, I'm gone. And or they come, they just come and say, no, thank you very much, just hand over the keys. No. This leadership, in Gauteng we have done many things differently. And that's why even on the lifestyle audits, we want to uphold the highest standard. Believe it or you don't believe it, we all share that deep sense as this leadership. It's in our conference resolutions that we must move forward. So I am not looking for a position in the National Executive Committee. But when the members of the ANC, which they will do, have gone through thinking, discussing, the chair was saying here they're going to do that. When they do that, they come and say, we will engage it that way. I'm not looking for a vacancy. So that's very important. And Samkele, the very last thing is that I think we see you when we work. You know, there's going to be in the legislature later in in the month we are going to be doing the annual reports. The legislature is going to be we're tabling the annual reports as all the MECs later in the month. We're going through processes. We also have a very important the Premier Social Cohesion Games are taking place. So when the ANC has gone through its own processes, it will come back. So you're talking about 2 weeks. I think you definitely know that it's one of those things you try to do. But are just stretching things a little bit. I'm not sure if you are good at it. But you try to do it. So they explain, you just say, no, let's see if we can give the time frame. They don't want to give us a time frame. Let me say 2 weeks and see how they'll deal with it. Now leave that to the ANC to go through its processes. But the ANC knows that I'm not going to just walk away. I'm interested up to the last day. Up to the last day, I'm interested in, and that's different from what would have happened. And there is no sense of being unhappy about that. I think this ANC leadership is interested in stable provincial government and good performance. I have no doubt about it. The ANC will deal with it. Govern says today, essentially today marks the end of your premiership. But you also know, and you are not too inexperienced not to know, you also know that you are just taking chances. You're just taking chances to smuggle something, to test if really today marks. I can't go overseas when I'm not the premier. You know, Governor, that you were just taking chances there. So I am the premier. I will be the premier until the ANC I've asked the ANC to consider my wishes, until the ANC has done that. And I'm not going to just walk away in this province. I'm very interested in a stable ANC-led government. And the next premier of the ANC, I will vote for that premier. When that happens, after voting for the premier, I can assure you I'm not going to stay in the legislature. When that happens, that's also the wish I've given. I'm not going to stay in. Once we have, together with the whole ANC team, as and when the ANC has decided, once we have installed the new premier, I will take a bow from the Gauteng legislature. Not resign, not walk away. Of course, at that time, when we have done that, so come back to English. So at that time, because you leave the legislature, you then resign. But I've not resigned today. So there's a difference, you will see. And I know you understand the English, but also it's not just English, the political science of it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, leadership.
Let me take this opportunity to thank the leadership of the ANC here for honestly managing this difficult process brilliantly. It's not the end. We will come back to you. We have to go back to the PC to then table the process map or road map, and on the basis of that we will conclude this matter. But we want to thank you, members of the media as well, for your engagement. We appreciate that. We don't want to undermine the media. We want to work with you. But we want to urge you, screen your sources.
Yeah.
Screen your sources. Because sometimes it's honestly embarrassing that people will plant a story because they differ with the narrative of a collective. Because they differ with the narrative of a collective, they want to be the first one to break a story. Now all of us must chase to correct that narrative. We are not hungry for power. We want to serve our people. We want to build a strong ANC, and escape is possible. And the ANC has gone through these processes. I know many people don't believe that the ANC can be powerful. At one stage, the Black Consciousness movement was more powerful than the ANC. At one stage, the Pan-Africanist Congress was more popular than the ANC. So it's capable to have an ANC that is agile, dynamic, and loved by our people. If we assume we didn't accept that we've made mistakes, we'll be wrong. We know we've made lots of mistakes, but the good things that we've learned from those mistakes. So as this province, we want to galvanize every branch, every region, and the leadership of this province, just to build a very strong, dynamic ANC. And sometimes a good ANC is bad news to other people. But we want to build a good ANC, and we think we'll be in a position to do that. Thank you so much, and thank you for your well wishes. I can see you are wishing me well in terms of birthday.
Sorry,
let me hand over to you.
Members of the media, thank you very much. I think before you leave, you'll have to fill this in. We'll put it, Comrade Jackie will help you. We also want to wish the First Lady of Gauteng, Mema Kura, happy birthday.
Belated on the first.
Yeah, belated.
The Deputy Secretary of the ANC is in government. The chairperson of the ANC is in government. The treasurer of the ANC is in government. The deputy chair is in government.
Yeah.
Many of the PEC members of the ANC are in government.